have I got a video for you. So today at the Marion County Realtor Coffee Chat, we had Ryan Chamberlin as a special guest. He is currently, and will be reelected today, a member of the Florida State House of Representatives. So the meeting we had today really centered around property taxes here in Florida. What the bill's talking about, what risk there is, the massive reward. You know, one thing he talks about is unrealized gains, and I hadn't even considered that. That, as you know, let's use an example. You buy a house for $200,000, your taxes are calculated off of that. And then as your house appreciates in value, now you're being taxed on unrealized gains. Now the house is worth $400,000, $500,000, and you're being taxed on that amount. And, you know, us Floridians have an opportunity to vote in November to start the process of eliminating that for homesteaded owners, right? These are people that live in their house year round. And Ryan does a great job of explaining what the bill is, what the negative sound bites really are. The whole we're going to lose our fire department, we're going to lose our police. It's absolute BS. And the people that are purporting that, I mean, it's a lie. It's fraud. Okay. This thing goes into effect. If it gets passed, it will have no effect on police, firefighter, none of that. So we're going to get into it. It's a little bit longish of a video because I recorded most all of it, right? Like 40 minutes, I think. We'll see. And also there's a website where you can learn more. I'm going to charge every one of you that watches this with a task, and that is to educate yourself with what the bill accomplishes, what it's aimed to do, so that when misinformation is presented on, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you can communicate from a place of knowing. It's all clearly laid out, and to dispel the negative aspect of it, right? And it's an incredible video, and here it comes.
I am going to say things that will rile people up, though, because anytime you talk about messing with $65 billion, which is what our state collected in property taxes, people get riled up. And so I'll give you some solutions on that. But I didn't realize it would be such a topic that it is today. In 2023, I filed a bill to propose the elimination of property taxes, the first bill of its kind in a long time in the state of Florida. And I was against property taxes for several reasons. One is they're going up at an abnormal rate. In the last 4 or 5 years, they've gone up over 50% in the state of Florida. The system we designed was never intended for them to go up that much, and the local counties did not expect a 50% pay raise. Yet government manages to spend every extra dollar they get, and in this case, it's off the backs of homeowners. So I believe we need to slow it down. At its least, we need to slow that way down. People's incomes didn't go up by 50%, especially our retirees. So it's a significant increase, and it's pressing on people. It's actually contributing to the housing affordability crisis in a big way. And so we've got seats. And so, y'all don't mind, I'll take a sip of coffee every once in a while. The second reason why, so that's a big reason, okay? Another reason why this conversation has taken off in a way that is now our current governor's got behind it. It's all over the paper. And on the Florida House side, I do get credit for starting this conversation in a big way, because I filed the bills and they were heard, and it hit the news, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and I'm not anywhere near ready to slow down, because it's going to be historical to be the first state in the United States to actually allow people to own their property. And that's the next topic that really people are understanding is we rent our property from the government. It never goes away. It's an ever increasing number, and there's very little accountability to where the money's being spent. So we can clean up. There's billions of dollars statewide that taxpayers really don't want their money being spent on. Yet these counties are also, and I love our county, right? But counties typically, sometimes they don't look at it from every angle necessarily. As a state rep, I get to see all the numbers across all 67 counties, and we got an issue here because the counties right now are saying there's no room to even cut $1 off the budget. Yet their budget went up 50%. So I feel like that's a very false, misleading statement to say they can't afford to cut back. And I will talk about what's on the ballot this November, which is not the elimination of property taxes, but it is a drastic relief, and we need relief. That I'm coming after the whole elimination of the whole system.
Wow.
And the replacement. And so, but that's another big reason. We don't own I want people to own their property. The government has liens on all property. I don't think the government should have a lien. So I'm kind of the government candidate that's the anti-government candidate. I want the government out. I wanted to become elected to help bring the government out of some of the things. So we've got that issue. The other thing that riles people up now that the educate people are understanding is you're paying your property taxes on unrealized gains.
Yeah.
Meaning you're paying property taxes on the equity, money you've never received. You bought your home for $200,000 and today it's worth $400,000. You're being taxed on money that you've never cashed out on. That's why property tax has been voted, not a good vote, the most hated tax in America. It's the only tax that you pay on the increase of an asset on an ongoing, forever, never-ending basis. So it creates a lot of frustration and a lot of tension. The third reason why property taxes is such a riled up state is because nobody can explain it. Nobody can understand it. And you can look at your tax bill and have no idea where all the money's going. You just see an increase every year. How many saw an increase on their taxes this year? Okay, it's never going to stop.
60%.
60%, yeah. It's never going to stop. And so far, all my conversations with counties over the last 4 years, they do not want to come back on any of the dollars that they've received as if they should have received them. And I'm here to tell you they should. It's a system flaw for us not to have had a cap and to have allowed property taxes to go up 50%. It's like the IRS. I mean, nobody likes the IRS either. Mm-hmm. We'll work on that one next, right? One at a time. That's a federal. If you made $100,000 this year and you paid your taxes, and then the IRS calls you and says, "We think you should have made $200,000 this year. We want you to pay taxes on $200,000." That's exactly what's going on with property taxes. Mm-hmm. You bought your house for $200,000. Somebody said it's worth $400,000. Whoever that somebody is, and they want you to pay taxes on the $400,000. Whatever number they come up with, they just want you to pay taxes on. Mm-hmm. If that was happening with the IRS, we would have pickets going on. It would be irate, and that's the energy that's starting to develop. People are fed up with the way the government's handled property taxes. So, as of August of this year, I am the first in the history of our country, according to Amazon, elected official to publish a book on ending property taxes with a plan for not only how to end it, but to replace it. Now, you can't get this book yet. This is a pre-release copy, but in about 2 weeks you'll be able to get it. I'll come back and give everybody a copy. How about that?
Sweet. Right. Thank you.
And I need everybody to bring their friends because we're going to spread the word in a big way. So I wrote this really to give it away, but to educate the state of Florida. Because what's going on right now is a education, a matter of fact, a purposeful scare tactic to stop the progress of this movement. You're going to hear things like, we can't fund the police, we can't fund the fire
Just
department.
going to say that.
They've said it. They've said
And
it.
Why?
this is what I want to tell you. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. I hate to use the word lie because some of my friends are re-quoting this stuff. They're not lying. They're just not telling the truth because they haven't taken the time to learn the truth. They're repeating information. So I'm not mad at anybody in the county. I'm just going to help persuade them over the next little bit to think differently about this topic. For example, 4 years ago, we collected $45 billion in property taxes.
Oh, there you go.
4. This year, we collected $65 billion. That's a 50% increase. If what passes on the ballot this year passes, it's only going to reduce property taxes by $12 billion. That's it. Homestead exemption is only $18 billion statewide, meaning out of the $65 billion, even if we wiped out, if all homeowners in the state of Florida had a zero property tax bill, we would still be collecting $47 to $48 billion this year, which is still up from the last 4 years. Meaning, if we wiped out the whole $18 billion, our county would be at a record high in the history of the state of Florida still. And they're saying they don't have money to pay for the things that they had plenty of money to pay for just a few years ago. It's not true. What they don't want to do is give up the extra money that they're using to spend on projects that a lot of people would never vote on anyway. And the other reason why our counties are getting frustrated with it is this is really a demand for them to tell us what they're spending their money on.
Audit.
Which as an elected official, that's what, now I'll put myself in a different situation. Y'all should be demanding that Ryan Chamberlin tells you everything he or she is doing. I'm not a she, by the way. You know what I'm talking about. I meant an elected female.
Not what we got.
Please. Edit that.
Yes.
So, the bottom line is, there's a better way to generate revenue rather than on the backs of homeowners. People are being crushed out of their homes. The average first-time buyer in the state of Florida has gone from 29 years old to over 40 years old and is trending in a few years. If we don't do anything, you have to be 50 years old in the state of Florida to afford a new house, your first-time house. That's unacceptable. That is terrible. We're already trending in the largest foreclosure crisis in the state of Florida. Now, we can fix it. It's not just property taxes. We have insurance rates that we're working on. But this is a big deal. When a first-time buyer goes to buy a home and just the property tax portion is $400, $500, $600 a month, I mean, that's more than what our first mortgage was. Now, granted, that was a few decades ago. But the reality is, insurance and property taxes together is now more than most of individuals' mortgage payments were just 10 years ago. Just those two items. So it's becoming a crisis. And so I believe there's multiple ways we could tackle this. I have presented 4 of them here. 4 ways to replace the revenue, to unlean all of our properties, to rein this in back to more of a consumable-based funding model rather than a unrealized gains funding model. And so I make the case, that's why it's called the case for true home ownership in the United States of America. And the reason why I say United States of America, what happens in Florida, we tackle this problem in Florida, there will be a bunch of other states decide to go ahead and roll with it because they can. It'll start a chain reaction because Florida's just one of those states. Florida, Texas, and a few others. If a few of these kind of states actually do things like this, it creates a wave of belief across the country. So we have an opportunity to lead. We're already depending on who you're talking to, 13th or 14th largest economy in the world. Florida has a $1.8 trillion economy. That's according to countries, by the way. If Florida was a country, it would be the 14th largest in the world. It's huge. So when you tackle things in Florida, Florida's economy would be the equivalent. You could add up 20 other states altogether, and they wouldn't be as big as Florida. Some of them, because of the revenue. So there's ways to do it. I propose a few different ways. I'll get into that, but let me pause here. Let me see if there's any questions about anything that I have covered so far.
We have a lot of salespeople here, and we very much are the boots on the ground, asking, kind of informing borrowers, but specifically to the property tax. I think everyone in this room has made up something on how to respond to a borrower or a client regarding, hey, what's going to happen with the property taxes? And I know it's probably like paragraphs, but if you could summarize what the immediate, you mentioned like 15 billion, a little bit of change.
Yeah.
If you could summarize a good way for us to answer these questions about where property tax is going in like the very near future, so that we can give our borrowers and clients like a good answer, how could you do that?
So thank you for that question. Number one, here's the direction it's heading right now. Right now there's one thing on the agenda, and that is the November ballot. There's the second thing I'll tell you about that we're going on here. What's on the ballot right now is basically a proposal to massively increase the homestead exemption. Up to scale it up to $250,000 exemption.
Okay.
So that over the next few, immediately, I think it would start out in the 100. They just rewrote the language yesterday in the 100,000+ range and scale to the 250. So that if this passes, homeowners really are going to see a huge, not a total elimination. To me, they still have the lien on their property. If they have a $400,000 home, they'll still be paying property tax. So it doesn't eliminate property taxes. I wish it did, because again, I want the government off of our liens. I don't like our properties being able to be seized, even if it's been paid off for 30 years. But what's happening now is there's a chance that there'll be some immediate relief. Now, it may not pass because of the fear mongering that's going on, which means everybody's property taxes are going to go up again. And they're definitely already baked for this year, but if this passes, we should see some immediate relief starting in 27 in the property tax bill. And so there'll be all kinds of adjustments. And then the government, or the local counties, are going to be forced to adjust their budgets or look for creative revenue streams or reprioritize their spending. See, we don't have a money problem in Florida, we have a spending problem. That's really what's going on. Just like most households. When our finances are tight, many times it's not a money problem. Many times it's a spending problem. That's the way life is. You have to cut and adjust. The government never seems to have to cut and adjust. They just keep figuring out how to get pay raises.
I thought he was talking about me when he
No.
I'm not talking about me.
It's always my fault. It's always my fault. So now, to take it a step further, let's pause here. If I was communicating to a buyer of a home today, I'd be very careful what I said, because there's a lot of directions it could go. I mean, literally their property taxes could go up.
No, not could they. They will.
They will go up.
Yeah, they do.
So if somebody's looking to buy a home today on the idea that, hey, my property taxes are going to get cut in half, that is not a safe thing to think at all. Now, I want to make it a reality, and we're going to have to create revenue streams, which I believe should be based on consumption. And I propose things like, let's look at the travel industry, people that are coming in and out of Florida. 180 million people travel in and out of Florida. There's room for us to add a safety tax. I mean, they're using our roads. If they call our police or our fire, the police are coming to help them. The fire is coming to take care of them if they get in an accident. And the homeowners in Florida are paying for all that. Meaning the travelers don't pay, nothing in the travel sector helps cover what we're paying for as homeowners. They're riding on our roads, which our property taxes pay for. There's a lot of things. So I think we can generate billions of dollars just with a small fee and still be below other major travel states, way below what's going on elsewhere. So we're still competitive in travel. And believe me, Disney has proven they can keep raising their rates.
They just had
And people
increase
are coming.
yesterday.
So I'm not for new taxes, but if I can unlean our property and generate the revenue off consumption, and 80% of that consumption comes from people that don't live here, that's a direct relief off of Florida citizens. And so that's one way that I believe I'm going to be pushing to help with that. And I think there's several other ways to generate billions. I don't want to raise any kind of sales tax. Okay, I'm not, let's get rid of tax. But if I have to choose between, senior citizens all over the state of Florida having to pay property taxes to cover school bills, or we add a 1 or 2 cent to our sales tax so that everybody's helping pay for the school. If I have to pick between them, I'm going through the consumption tax because again, we get to the 180 million people that travel here are buying things that would help pay for our schools. And it's mathematically makes more sense and is more fair. And then people argue that, well, the renters, you're not helping them at all. Yes, we are, because the people that own the rental properties right now, if we eliminate the whole system, they're just passing on the increase in property taxes to the renters. Renters are actually paying a higher property tax than anybody else in the state. Because current landlords don't get homestead exemption on their rental property, they get charged the full rate. So if property taxes go up $100 or $1,000 a year or $1,200 a year, they just add $100. They just raise rent by $100 a month. That's why it's one of the reasons why rental properties or rents are becoming unaffordable. It's cheaper to buy a home than it is to rent because of that property tax scenario. So all these arguments are just misleading and if you look at the source of most of the arguments, it comes from people that control the county funds and they're worried about it. So listen, I'm friendly with our sheriff. He opposes the property tax. He's been very public on it. I'm pro. I get along with the sheriff. But what he's not really opposed to, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm going to say this. I don't believe our sheriff's opposed to helping create relief in the property tax scenario. I think what he's opposed to is not knowing where his funds are going to come from to keep us safe. And if he's presented a plan that shows his revenue will not get cut to zero, which right now he hasn't, there's conversations that need to happen on that. That's a whole different conversation. And so that is a little bit of what I would say. I do want to tell you about the next phase. Go ahead.
I have a question. So to dovetail a little bit off Fabian's question, I see sound bites and posts constantly about we're going to lose our fire, we're going to lose our police, blah, 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 blah. So is there, other than us just coming off completely opposite of what that post is, if you reply, is there a resource you can direct that we can share a link or go here and you can learn all about in a quick 5-minute, read or something? I think that might be beneficial for people that don't know. Where's the quick way that they can educate themselves,
So,
other than the book,
well, there's a website, propertytaxnow.com.
Okay,
that's been developed.
propertytaxnow.com.
Okay.
You'll see, it's all over.
zoom in on that.
This book is
Perfect.
going to drive, but there is going to be marketing pro that will give people the resources they need. And again, you're going to hear different things from different county leadership on this topic. But overall, what most of the fire or police officers would be doing is just repeating what they heard in their meeting. Okay, that, hey, well, they're going to cut funding. There is no governor in the state of Florida that's going to cut police funding. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to force the counties to stop wasting money on things they should be wasting on and prioritize where the funds go. Or we're going to look for creative ways, like I've already mentioned, 1 or 2 of them, to generate revenue that's currently not being generated. And until we force the conversation, everybody's too comfortable. So I'm trying to force the conversation.
Is it safe to say that the end property tax movement started here in Ocala?
Yes.
All right.
I was just going to ask, in the whole stream of this process, because there was the points where they were saying there was going to be different bills or different things to be voted on so that no one of them would ever get enough of a majority vote that it would end the property taxes. And now you're saying it seems that it's come down to where maybe they've agreed to, well, instead of all the different bills, it's just going to be the one where we're going to just raise the homestead exemption.
Well, so to answer that certainly was last year's conversation. Those 8 bills were moved through the process. None of them, I had several bills that did not move through the process, but mine were very aggressive in the elimination and replacement. Matter of fact, I filed 3 bills called Freedom 1, 2, 3. I outline them in here. And it was a 3-bill process. 1 bill was required because property taxes are in our Constitution. So that's why it has to go on the ballot. We can't, as legislators, if something's in the Constitution, just file a bill to do away with it. No. Constitutional adjustments and amendments have to be voted on by the people. So all these bills were relief bills, and what ended up happening is the bills did not get, some of them made it through the House, but they did not get approved by the Senate, which means they could never go to the governor's office. So the governor called special session, proposed this language which we voted on, and now it has ended up going to be on the ballot. They've had to redo language, so we'll see where it all ends up. But for people that are into the elimination of the system, this is a step in that direction, but it's nowhere near what needs to be done. So we almost have to scratch what happened last year. We hit the reset button. We've got a new governor coming in. Ron DeSantis certainly ran out of time to do this. Him and I have worked on this different things together, but he's not going to be our governor. And so, and I've spoken to all the candidates. They all they know that people want relief in this, so we're liable to get some movement. However, getting the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, and the Governor to agree to total elimination is a very tough thing to do. So there's 2 ways that you get things done in this kind of magnitude. One is you file bills, you get a legislator to file a bill and try to work that bill, which I'm doing. But you got to get everybody to agree on it, and there's a lot of give and take, there's a lot of arguing, debating, right? Or there's another way. The Constitution says that if you get enough signatures by the people in the state of Florida, you can bypass the legislature and the people can force something to happen. So we have seen, and historically we've seen things like abortion or marijuana. They have made the ballot, not because the legislature couldn't have come to an agreement on it. There was too much arguing up at the Capitol. So the people said, enough is enough. And these movements create, and it costs a lot of money to gather the signatures. But right now we need 880,000 and 62 signatures from Florida citizens. So what I have done outside of the legislature is launch what I'm calling the End Property Tax Now movement. This is a 501c4, it's a nonprofit organization that's been set up to publicly announce here very soon. There's already been, if you Google it right now, there's a press release that just went out 2 days ago. And the constitutional language, the ballot, I'm launching a citizen-led ballot initiative for 2028 to eliminate property taxes in the state of Florida. Now, that'll force the government to come up with replacement. But again, until we force it to happen, nobody's going to scramble to fix it. But we can fix it, and we should fix it. I just don't believe we're necessarily going to fix it through the normal legislative process. So you're about, this launches the official ballot initiative. We're going to need help gathering the signatures, not for a vote, just to get it on the ballot. We'll let the people vote. If they vote it down after it's on the ballot, but I believe Florida will be the first ever successfully approved elimination of property taxes by the people in this country's history.
That's so exciting.
Get ready.
It's so cool.
Get ready.
It's so cool.
So endpropertytaxnow.com is a website that's ready for you to, you can go ahead and put your email address. As soon as the ballot, we're hoping in the next week or two, I'm able to start emailing ballots. Next time I come, everybody, I'll bring it, you can sign it. Instead of being your It means you want to see the government, you want to see this go on the ballot, and you want us to come up with a better system. That's all that means. And so we're still going to have a lot of debate on what that system looks like, but I believe you can't debate a plan that doesn't exist. So I wrote a book with a plan. And the idea of this book is to give it to hundreds of thousands of people in the state of Florida. I'm doing it through sponsorships. People are sponsoring the book. I've already had the first 8,000 books sponsored, and we haven't even released the book yet. The first 10,000 books should be here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm starting to hold events all over the state, but it's starting here in Ocala.
That's awesome.
Not his first book he wrote.
I love that.
Just so you know.
We have about 15 minutes left. I did want to ask, you mentioned it a little bit about insurance. Some reform potentially on insurance. We all feel the insurance really tight here too.
No, there's
Amen
more,
to that.
Yeah, there's more work to be done. So a couple of years ago, we passed what's called tort reform, which meant that we totally changed how lawsuits could take place in the state of Florida, which was the single biggest contributing factor to insurance problems. All kinds of insurance problems, auto, home. And so insurance companies just pulled out. We're pulling out. The amount of lawsuits in the state of Florida, we were the number one in the country as far as the amount of lawsuits that were taking place were happening in Florida. So we've changed that. One of the challenges many challenges with insurance companies is just because you fix laws doesn't mean they immediately drop their rates. They work on these actuary numbers, and sometimes they want to see 24, 36 months of data. This year is the first year that homeowners rates have actually started to decline in the state of Florida in the last many, many years. We're projecting they continue to decline, not all, because remember, values have gone up. So if the value of a home went from $250,000 and today it costs $500,000 to repair, then naturally your insurance rate should go up if it's now needing to pay $500,000 worth versus when you originally bought it. I think people understand that a little bit. However, their incomes haven't gone up the same way as property taxes with the increase of homeowners. So we're doing more things. Matter of fact, you're hearing this next governor really want to address this issue. It is already starting to come down a little bit, but that is because of the laws we changed on how lawsuits happen in Florida. And the last thing I'll tell you, the good news is we were down to just a few companies, like less than 5 companies that were providing insurance in the state. We've added a lot more companies have come back to Florida now. And the more competition you get, that's a good sign. The fact that companies are entering back into our market means our rates are going to be more competitive. And unfortunately, it just doesn't happen fast enough. But it is trending in the right direction. That I would be able to confidently tell new homeowners that homeowners insurance rates are trending in a better direction. Definitely, property taxes are trending up. Homeowners insurance I wouldn't go down, like they're trending right now. We're trying to get them down, to where hopefully it'd be at least a 25% or more decrease in homeowners property taxes.
We deal with RCE, replacement cost estimate. My house cost $225,000 to build in the mid '90s. Now it's $600,000-700,000 to build it.
Yeah.
So at some point it has to go up. So totally understand where you're coming from with that.
Going up and abnormally going up we've experienced an abnormal rate increase, so we're trying to pull that back down. We believe we've got some strategies for that. Again, homeowners insurance, we're not messing with the Constitution. We're trying to create an environment. For example, Marion County absorbs some of the problematic coastline risk. It's spread out. So maybe I was being pitched on ideas, maybe we should be thinking of regionalizing our rate structure rather than, what they pay in Miami. The risk in Miami for hurricanes is different than the risk in Ocala, yet we're absorbing some of that rate increase to help spread it across more people. So it's being looked at. I mean, Florida's really a diverse state. You know, from the Panhandle to the Central Florida to South Florida, it's like 3 different states.
I've said that in this group a lot, just being transparent. When I have a borrower that's coming to me for a quote, and I'm from South Florida, and they're wanting to buy a house or purchase a home, and I've told you this, Greg, a lot, like when they want to buy a house down there, it's like a different country, man. The insurance is 3 times, 4 times what we pay here. The property taxes. So I am so hesitant as a loan originator to give them an estimate without getting actual quotes from down there because it's a different country.
I think the trickiest part that in the real estate mortgage space that is just had so many problems is in the area of disclosure. Meaning somebody comes to buy a house in Marion County and they're buying it for somebody that's lived in that home for 15 years and they're looking at what that person's paying on property taxes. As soon as that house flips to the new owner, it's about to triple. And I think there's just a lot, no matter what anybody says, I don't think people are grasping. Matter of fact, they're being led to believe that their property taxes are not going to do that. And
I think sometimes the disclosures are the problem. Like everything we just mentioned, we talk about it in this group a lot. They put into a document, and then someone at a closing table signs 150 pages, and one of those documents is about, hey, your bill's going to go way up after, and it becomes a document that, and we talk about it all the
Genesis
time.
title,
Nobody reads it.
Nobody
reads it.
Genesis title.
So as somebody who distrusts the government and always believes that, just like as you said, they get more money, they're going to spend more money. And then like you also said, like you don't always see all the books, you don't know where their pet projects are or where the money's being spent. What I'm worried about, and I think probably what some of the detractors of this bill will say, which I love it. I love the idea of getting rid of property taxes, but what is going to stop them from finding all kinds of revenue sources that we don't want, that it just make everything else more expensive for us? So like, you know, they increase the homestead exemption to $250,000, and then they, you know, increase the non-ad valorem tax, which has been something I've heard about, and you know, have a, you know, exit tax and stuff like that.
Gasoline tax, something, you know.
So
I like the fire taxes, city.
how is there a way to make that more transparent where they can't just start increasing everything in 10 different ways under the radar, so none of us really know what's happening? But people that like to spend money find ways to spend money, and how do we like stop them from?
Yeah, when it comes to generating new revenue sources, creating new revenue sources, the voters will have to be involved in that. Just like right now, I mean, like in our county, this last cycle, we voted on a 1 cent increase, and it passed to cover things, and it was like a 20-year renewal of the 1 cent. I'm just trying to remember it. The point I'm trying to make is currently there's nothing stopping bad politicians from doing things that aren't bad. We have to really be careful who we put into these seats and who we put in these offices. I will say the fraud that comes out of like in South Florida is at a whole different level of category than what people would consider or be thinking of wrong decisions made in a county like Marion. Marion would score very high, even though in Marion we also see things that we wish were being done better as well. We're blessed in a lot of ways comparatively, but we still need to fix it here. We still need to fix those things here. And I think coming back to more transparency, the elected officials that you put into these kind of seats have to fight for more transparency. And that is really what this movement is about. This riles people up because it forces disclosure of things that most people really don't want disclosed, because it'll create aggravation and frustration. So I don't want to act like I have all the solutions for it. I am in a battle fighting for something I believe in that could affect millions of people in the state of Florida. But yeah, we've got to keep worrying about these other things. We have to go against local governments and unseat people that would do things wrong and fight for more transparency. That's the only way I would know how to do it.
Don't want to see our homes being taken away from us, I guess from like the government because they have liens on it. Is there any correlation between the property tax that they charge and then the national debt on, like, if whoever owns our debt, is it China? Like if they call our debt, is there any correlation
I don't
to
see
the
them
liens?
tied. I don't see them tied. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the state has a lien on our property.
Okay.
Each state handles property taxes a little differently, but nevertheless, there's a lien on it.
Okay.
And in Florida, if you own a home and you get behind on your property taxes, they're not coming to, I mean, you're in trouble. You owe the money. They have a lien on your property. But if it's your homestead, there's protection there. But when you go to will that to your kids, that's when the state's coming to take the property. They're coming to get squared up. So who really owns it if something you worked for 30 or 40, 50 years can't even be given to your family? There's a lot of wrong things that are with that part of the system.
Yeah.
And so, but the federal government is not necessarily, they're dealing with IRS stuff. They're dealing with other things that may be attached to that. And they're trying to pay off that, deal with that 40 trillion. But property taxes are different.
Are there any other parts of this bill that we don't know about that are going to be like a surprise when we read the ballot, or is it pretty straightforward? It's going to go 150 to 250,000.
Yeah, I mean, the language, they're officially putting out the language. We're getting through today's election. But I can come back. I mean, the language is the language. The Supreme Court's involved. The language is very tight, so I would read it. I would understand it. But in reality, what you're going to hear is a lot of misinformation of people that they want this to fail. Because if this bill fails, they still get their 65 billion and climbing. By the way, it's going to be higher than 65 this year. It's going up.
Is there any language in it that would state that they would have to maintain the minimum standard of public safety?
Well, there was in some of the original bills, but in this particular amendment, not necessarily. Just like there's nothing right now that says they have to maintain it. The counties have flexibility to spend funds. We elect our commissioners. We elect people to make these decisions. School board. I mean, Marion County, we have a $1.something billion school budget, right? It's important who we elect to the school board, and because that's a big budget to be maneuvering, and the county's got a big budget as well. Sheriff's Department's a big budget. Everything's big budget. It's going up, and so we want to be careful how we allow government to force us to spend money certain ways. We gotta elect people to make good decisions with money. Now, to what I said earlier, if this passes, if we totally eliminated a homestead exemption, we would just be lowering the tax bill by 18 billion across the state. All homeowners would have zero. We would still have enough funds to do everything we're doing without cutting police, fire, and safety. Now, they're not going to say that, because what they don't want to cut is all the other stuff they're spending money on. Yeah. To me, it's just reprioritizing a budget. In addition, I'm not opposed to additional revenue streams as long as what we're replacing them with ends up being a relief and a net positive to the Florida citizens. And so I'm open for that conversation. I'm not ready to make final decisions on replacement, but I'm ready to. I don't think we're going to pass this as a state unless the police and the fire departments, they're going to scare people to death, literally, unless they're satisfied that their funds are going to be taken care of. Do I think they still need to be accountable to all the money they spend? Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're coming up out of time. We'll invite you to be part of our Peter Leeds group video. So we'll all go around, say something really short because we have a lot of people here. The idea is to introduce yourself, and everybody will kind of do like a little selfie video, and then we'll take a picture afterwards if that's cool.
Yeah.
Just say your name.
Hey guys, good morning. Peter here, Nova Home Loans. We're at the Midtown Station, and we have a very special guest today. We had an awesome, incredible group today. So I'm gonna go around. There you go, Tim.
Oh, you're starting with me. Tim
Yes.
Nelson, Phoenix Rising Thermal Solutions.
My name is Fabian, local lender. Biggest takeaway was that the movement to end property tax actually started here in Marion County. Thanks, Representative Brian.
Woo!
Good morning, Dee Blackmore with Synergy Realty.
Sharice Energy Realty.
There.
Heather Gamble Home Loans.
Greg Godin, Fig Tree Mortgage Group.
Hey, Greg.
What's up, guys? This is Kyle and Mona from Strategic Agent Solutions, here to help you leverage your business as a real estate agent and get you more money.
Here's the best commercial out of everything.
John Lorenzo from Homeowners Realty.
Hi, Hilda with Global Wide Realty.
Hey, Hilda.
Representative Ryan Chamberlain, District 24. Go to repryanchamberlain.com.
Woo! Vote today.
Jenny Chamberlain with Genesis Title Agency.
Paul Kestenbaum, Commercial Loan Finders. I help business owners get the funding they need to grow.
Carlos Merida, Public Adjuster from Insurance for Less. Thank you.
Lilian de la Cruz with Professional Realty. I had the key to your house.
Zach Poor, I'm the legislative aide for Rep Chamberlain.
Go Gators.
Awesome. Great group today, guys. You got to come every Tuesday, 9:30 in the morning, Midtown Station. Let's go.